Well, good morning, everyone. I am Don Zavis, one of the co-founders of Second Look Services, your financial equalizer. Welcome to the Financial Equalizer conference call here. As always, sharing the golden microphone is my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Jesse. You know what? It occurs to me, Michael, I probably shouldn't say partner in crime anymore. How are you today?
I know. I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Don?
You know what? Having a wonderful weekend. I'm having a very pleasant day. I'm one of the few people on the earth that actually likes Monday because,
Yeah.
in my world, Mondays is when the business world gets serious again. And I always like that kind of ideology, that concept about the business world getting serious, because I really believe that, business or finance, money, whatever you want to call it, really is the responsibility of every individual person. You're responsible for your own success. You're responsible for your own money. You're responsible for the keeping of your money, or at the very least, the getting back of your money. So that's why Mondays, although I must say I love weekends, love being with the family and stuff, I'm one of the few people who looks forward to Monday.
Yeah. Same with me. I feel like Mondays is a great start to just try something new and experiment.
Well, it is. I often say it's the blank slate of the week. So, man, no matter what problems you had, no matter what issues you had, good or bad, no matter what they are, you've got, now you're in the week. So now you have the ability to do, whatever you need to do, however you need to do it. So to me, that's fun. And by the way, I have to tell you that the newest Second Look Services newsletter went out today. Excellent, excellent. And I had never even thought of, when we were talking about that second look, it kind of is a concept, the idea of the offer and compromise. So maybe you could share with our listeners kind of what that is, because I think that's one of those like IRS catchphrases that people have heard, but nobody wants to raise their hand and say, "Yeah, I don't really know what that is." So fire away.
Yeah. So it's something that I have known about for over a decade. And it's just because during my time, either as working with a small business that is growing or even working with other companies as a business coach, there's a lot of businesses who get to a point where, just due to like either lack of capital or maybe lack of revenue, that they have this huge debt that goes to the IRS. Okay. So what will happen is over time, that debt will accrue fees. And eventually you're going to start getting some nasty emails from a tax agency, whether it's the federal government or the state you're in. And they do that intentionally just to kind of get awareness on, hey, we need to take care of this. Okay. So the scary letters and all that is literally just that. They're scary. However, I have helped 6 businesses right here in Arizona get through how to work with tax agencies and reduce the debt load completely. Now, some of it was probably about 20%. So say you owed, like this one company owed $25,000. We got it down to $5,000, which immediately had to be paid within 30 days. They did that, and now they're at a clean slate with the tax agency. So that's what an offering compromise can help with. Now, I can't always guarantee the 20%. That's just on average, but at least take care of getting out of the agencies coming at you. Because here's the thing, you are legally responsible for it. And if you are familiar with tax evasion laws, you literally can go to jail. So I want people to really take this as it is serious. I have no intention of hoping that people do go to jail because of it, but there is a way out to get a clean slate, to get that out of the way, and then what to do to move forward. So offering compromise is us working with you and the agencies to negotiate what can you do right now to get out of this debt load. And once the agreement's made, pay it, like I said, within 30 days, and then you're clear. That's what offering compromise is in a nutshell.
So let me ask the question. So you would think, with so many people having IRS challenges, and I will tell you, almost every business that I have ever met has at some point in time had an IRS issue.
Mhm.
maybe a deduction that was disallowed, or a payment that didn't come in as quick as they would have liked it, or a penalty. I think that's just the nature of business. I don't think the intent is to conceal anything or evade anything, but because of the complex nature and structure, and the fact that most business people need to hire that third person to come in that maybe has an elevated understanding, that they maybe don't want to spend the money. I would imagine even for you to have helped your clients with the offer and compromise because they were clients, there was probably some type of remuneration that they paid you. So is the reason that people don't pursue, because I imagine that they could on their own. I imagine that they could try to get this offer and compromise, but do you think that most people don't do it because they don't want to kind of go back in their pocket and throw good money after bad?
One, I think they don't even know. Like I said, there was this one company I was working with who owed the 25,000. They had that burden for 3 years. And again, this is one of those, the letters to even mention it, like, hey, we're just sending this letter to figure out a easy way for you to get out of this debt because we don't want to bother you, because it's a waste of their time. And then for you to just continue doing what we want you to do, if you're a business owner, to be in business. That's kind of how it works. I do feel like you had mentioned, does it feel awful that now so again, I didn't get paid for the 5,000 I helped them get through. But if I did have to charge something, yeah, I think there's got to be a reasonable amount because the work involved is pretty high. I mean, it does take about 5 to 10 hours depending on where you're at. The larger your business and the more you owe, the longer it takes. But if you're in the, almost a million, you owe the 25,000, there's ways to kind of get through that pretty quick. But yeah, I do feel like a lot of people don't want to spend money to get out of it. But I think I've mentioned this even in a past episode, is you don't want this lingering. Because here's the thing. A lot of people think, well, I'm just going to go bankrupt and then I don't have to deal with it. Not true. I want people to really understand it. Like, you owe the money and it's the government. This isn't like some creditor or some bank you owe money to. It is the government. A bankruptcy is not going to help you through this. So take care of it. Just get through it. Again, it's something that I've helped people with. So if that is a question you have, like, how do I get through it? Just send us an email. I'll walk you through what that process actually looks like.
And one of the components of second look services and potentially our assistance with them is that we don't actually charge until we actually do something for you. We don't actually charge unless we're able to get it. So I would imagine that person that was able to reduce their burden by $20,000, it would be in their best interest, even if they had to bring somebody else in, although they may not want to necessarily take money out of their pocket in order to see whether or not they could even get something. But I would imagine if you were able to do that, then anything you did ultimately get paid would be clearly incredible value. They're getting, who knows, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1 of whatever money they're going to pay you in terms of the deduction that comes along with it. And I will tell you, this is interesting because having my knowledge of offers and compromise, it's been my experience that the IRS really does want to work with you. I know that there is that, perception that they're that, evil Scrooge, and, they're waiting for you to make the smallest slip up so they can swoop in and, taking all your stuff. And I tell people all the time, it's been my experience that they only do that when they absolutely positively have to, when every other possible venue has been exhausted, or if you've ignored it, like you said, don't assume it's going to go away, that you've ignored it. I think this, as an addition to the second look services offering, it is outstanding because really it provides such a credible service and a necessary service, and one that there is no money up front. There's only any kind of compensation if you're able to make this. And the reductions you're talking about are 80% reduction. That's amazing in terms of being able to negotiate stuff. And if for anyone who has gotten our most recent newsletter, there's a lot of sketchy people out there in the world. There was just a report that talked about some, essentially fake tax preparers that ended up going to jail.
And that's the thing that surprised me is I didn't understand there is a scam behind helping people reduce their tax burden as far as like what you owe and doing it in such a way that is just defrauding the government. And that's exactly what they said in the report is this was intentionally created to defraud government. And this is where I happened to come across an IRS article where they're saying there's a lot of people on social media who's claiming to help you with your taxes, and they're not sharing either the right way to use these tax credits, or they just think, oh, well, just go do it, and the government will miss it, and therefore you get your money back. You got to be careful of this. I understand like the IRS is super busy. It's probably understaffed, and everyone assumes if I just put it in there, it's going to go through. They do check these things. It's kind of one of their jobs to make sure that one, the government gets funded, but if the laws are in place to give you credits, again, businesses are probably 95% of the tax law to use it. I mean, that's why the tax credits exist. But you don't want to get to a point where you're defrauding the government. Defrauding the government is just a dangerous thing anyway. Because again, it's the government. It's not like a friend or family member where you borrowed money, you cheat them out of money. Not saying that people do that, but it's just don't go into it where I'm trying to just get money back as best I can using some sort of tax scheme. That's what they're trying to say. Don't follow the tax schemes. Just use, this is why I love what we do. Use an enrolled agent who actually is certified by the IRS, who understands what works, what doesn't. There are tax attorneys who you can bring in who know all the different cases for your particular industry that knows, yes, this has been tried, it works, or yes, this has been tried and it hasn't worked. So you really got to talk to experts. If your friend just happens to know how to deal with a spreadsheet, not good enough. So really, just use professionals. That's just the biggest thing I want people to understand is there are people out there who want to help. Some people want to do scams. And then there are people like us who we know how to do it legally. We know how to work with the agencies in a way that benefits you, that benefits them, and everyone wins.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think it's that always beware. I mean, the things that you're going to see on social media. One of the reasons that we do this conference call is to talk about in depth the things that we may be able to bring, the assistance and the programs and the concepts that we may be able to bring. But one of the things I always love, especially about the IRS, and it's kind of hard to believe that you're going to say you love anything about the IRS, is they give you 3 years to go back and look at it. And their position is, we're going to give you not only the filing time that you're normally allowed, but we're going to give you the opportunity to go back. So if you learn some things or you realize that you made a mistake or something is missing or something happened, we are more than happy to try to help you in that regard. We are more than happy to try to give you the means by which to make those corrections. And I think that's an amazing compliment to the program, to their program, because that makes it so much easier and gives you the opportunity to really go, to really delve into it, whether you hire someone like us or you hire a secondary firm or, maybe you go back to your original practitioner and ask them to look a little bit deeper. And it is interesting. You also mentioned one other thing about even family members who don't pay you. So there are deductions, certainly bad debt deductions, and there are a lot of things that, maybe, and again, I'm not casting aspersions because there's a lot of very, very reputable companies, the H&R Blocks and the things like that, really do a great job in helping people, put that together and do that. But, you always run into the situation where these people might have limited experience, possibly. Maybe they have, not a lot of knowledge about all the corners of the tax roll. So enrolled agents, CPAs, all of the, tax attorneys, they're really a great place to go. But, I love the idea that the government, it's coming, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. They really do make it as easy as possible, within reason, to go back and make any corrections or take a second look at it or, maybe try to make some kind of modest adjustment. So these are all there, and they're just really waiting for you. And that's why not only, the choosing the proper tax preparation specialist, but always getting that second look. And I think that, the one, as we audit people, the one thing they don't want to do is they don't want to invest in and I've heard this term used, good money after bad. They filed it and they thought that they should have gotten a lot more money back. And maybe they have some qualms or trepidations about their practitioner, but they won't even go back in their pocket for $1,000 or $2,000, even though they could get, potentially 10 times that back. And that's why that contingency relationship really, I think, has a certain, it lets kind of people sleep at night because, again, if we don't find anything, you don't pay anything. If we're able to find something, then we both get rewarded with that. But it's got to be legal and it's got to be honest. And I always say that, I sleep very soundly at night because I don't do sketchy stuff. So, I mean, I love that idea that there are so many things that are out there. And, even again, we talk about carrying that over into the insurance claim world and, into the legal world. And there's so many of these opportunities to look at something again so that nothing really is etched in stone. So, it's interesting because that offer in compromise, again, is not something that they talk about. Are there any other programs, Michael, do you know of? I know of a couple of other similar ones, but any more that you know of that maybe kind of are in that offer compromise vein?
Not along with the tax debt. And I do want to cover the one that you mentioned about, there is a way. So if somebody owes you money, again, I'm going to stick to the business side. If somebody owes you money and you can't collect on it for some reason, yes, you can deduct that from your taxes for the year. Why not go to a collection service and in 5 years get all 85,000, right? So there's a lot of conversations out there about, oh, don't worry about people owing you money. Just take it off your taxes. You really want to get onto collections to get that money back.
And that, again, I agree. There are so many underutilized. I had a person say, well, I'm working with the IRS and they have deemed me uncollectible. And in their mind, rightly or wrongly, they saw this as kind of running cover that they're never going to have to pay them. I said, well, but you understand, in order to maintain your uncollectability, you can't make any money, right? Yeah. You're going to be poor and you're going to struggle. And all of the reasons why most people don't want to be poor and struggle, you are now kind of relegating yourself to, because if you are successful and you start making money, the fact that you weren't able to pay last week doesn't mean that they're not going to look at your ability to pay today. And that's why, again, I think, really just meeting this head on. But again, most people don't feel comfortable speaking directly with the IRS. And I can understand. I mean, that's, you hear the commercials on television, the great scare tactics, they're the most powerful collections agency on earth. And of course, that makes, if you get a letter from the IRS in the mail, I mean, most people's hand would be shaking, when they read it. But again, not realizing, just as you said earlier, that letter is probably a notification that something's going on, right? Mm-hmm. It's not the sword of Damocles crashing down on you today, but it really means something needs to happen. And again, that's why I so embrace that second look ideology, that everything kind of deserves that second look. Nothing is, in most cases, as hard and fast. That really can't be changed. And that's why I encourage anyone who's listening to this, if you have a challenge going on with the IRS, whatever it is, again, please feel free to reach out to us. Now, our expertise is in looking back at what you've already paid and finding the best possible ways to get some of that money back for you. But in the case where you owe money, right, there are aspects of what we do that I think are going to be very helpful in that regard as well. It might be able to kind of leverage that opportunity where we can reduce it, or schedule. I know that people have used payment plans in the past, and that has worked for many people. Again, they're always willing to negotiate anything because they realize that getting something historically is better than getting nothing. And the time and effort that's put in with the getting nothing really doesn't bode well for anyone. And that's why you want to make sure that you're able to curtail that. And Michael, in our last couple minutes that we have, the moving forward to make sure that these problems don't resurrect themselves, because the fear that I have, that I think you share, is that somebody has a practitioner maybe working with a tax preparation situation where maybe they didn't get everything that they could have, and we go back and we get everything that we can over the last 3 years for them. But then they start this all over again. They'll go back potentially to the same tax preparation company, and again, now there's money left on the table, and now it's just with your new return. How do you think people should handle it going forward? Would they go to their tax preparation people and say, "Hey, listen, when you do my taxes, this other company was able to go here, here, and here. Can you make sure those are included as well?" I mean, how do we make sure that moving forward, we just don't create the situation over again?
And I think the CPAs are the ones who are going to say, that's what we want from our clients anyway, is just help us out every month. Let's get this settled and understood. Where are we going as far as direction? To wait until the end of the year to figure this out is, one, really hard for any accountant to deal with. And then so here's another thing that people don't realize. Once you get out of the startup side, so if you're making more than $1 million, you're going to start filing quarterly and then towards monthly. And there is weekly and daily for like those get close to like $500 million to $1 billion. But you're going to be paying into the system more often the more you make. That's something a lot of small business owners don't understand, is you will be paying in. Now, what you do need is, when you do your filing at the end, is to set up, okay, this is what happened, this is what we paid in, this is what we're expecting to get out, but create the plan. Again, whether you're working with a CPA, working with a enrolled agent, or working with us, get the plan together to make sure, all right, now we're finally out of having all this money sitting in the Department of Treasury, which we could have been using this whole time, to be more proactive about it. And how to, again, filings at a quarterly level is where most companies start to figure out, we really need to make sure every 3 months we get this working to where we don't overpay taxes. Because again, you've got payroll to deal with, you've got expenses to deal with. You want to make sure you can either hire or buy new equipment or whatever you need to do to grow the business, and have that available. Because where a lot of companies where I see that close is just, again, capital utilization. It's either you didn't have enough coming in or you've got too much going out. And some of that too much going out is taxes. So just be much more proactive about it. Have a plan, sit down and understand, all right, where are we at? Quarterly filing, monthly filing, how do we do this the best way? And then move forward from there.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. And obviously, being a small businessman, many times over with a lot of different companies that I opened up, I think that you are right. There reaches a point where you start to realize that I really need to get a handle on this, sometimes begrudgingly, but you realize you really got to get a handle on this. And I think one of the other things that I want to, maybe in our waning moments of our call, and as I always say at the end of every show, we always run out of more time and we run out of great things to talk about, is the idea that, if you've got money going out, and that's why I would encourage any business to look at their checkbook, for any individual, look at your checkbook and the money that's going out. I want you to first look at, first of all, how can I get some of that back? Right. So what can I do to get some of that back? And sometimes it's just asking. And you, of course, you always run the risk of having somebody say no, but you would now at least have the option to correct it moving forward. So maybe you go back and maybe your cable company had a better deal that they were offering, and they've been offering it for 6 months. And, and you are angry, justifiably, by the way, that they never offered that to you, right? They concealed that. They never shared that with you, and you would like to get some kind of credit back towards that. So option number one is that who knows, you might be able to get it. But at the very least, moving forward, you know that you're going to now be able to take advantage of that reduced cost. And that's why, your checkbook, whether it's online or, paper and pencil or spreadsheet, whatever you have, to me is your best starting point. And look, go back a year, go back 9 months, 6 months. A year ago, who was I paying? What, if anything, can I get back? Who can I talk to about obviously not only getting potentially some of those dollars back, but again, moving forward, you've kind of potentially stopped that blood flow. And again, you always run risk that they're going to say no, which is fine, right? But you miss 100% of the swings that you never take. So my parting comment for today is get started. Let's find a mechanism that's readily available to you so you can start to look at what has been going out and how we can try to go towards what's been going out and see potentially what we might be able to get back. And the answer might be nothing. But again, at the very least, by addressing it and looking at it, you can make sure that if you can't get something back moving forward, you're in the best possible position. So Michael, what would yours be?
I think mine would be getting back to the planning budgets. A lot of people don't like to do the budget part, but here's where I want people to understand the budget part. Whatever money is coming in, make sure that records as income. Whatever money is going out is a deductible business expense. There shouldn't be anything that your business is spending money on that isn't deductible. So getting back to what you were talking about is, hey, could I deduct this or not? Make that part of the plan. And if it's outside the business expense, find another means to pay for whatever that is. A lot of people think pizza parties don't count. It depends on what the pizza party's for. Is it for clients to come over and is a social event to, attract new leads, or is it a customer satisfaction type thing? So realize that's just part of the original way of just understanding if I do my plan for the year, if we spend this money, is it deductible? Pretty simple. There's very few things, by the way, that isn't, but I do see people, again, following some weird tax scheme, like, hey, I'm going to use my car as a deductible, not realizing that there's a rule behind that too. Everyone just assumes I use my car for personal and business. Well, now you got to play some number schemes with that. But if you have a vehicle, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you think of something simple like your home business deduction, to open a home business, right, it is a relatively small amount of money. And if you go into it with the proper legitimate intentions, you're able to take a very substantial deduction immediately. So, if you decide that you want to do a consulting business out of your house, and even though you may own a business or have a job or something like that, and you dedicate your spare bedroom, and that spare bedroom is 15% of the size of your house, that now is a deduction. And it's legal as long as you're actually trying to do business with that. And, that simple deduction, that simple filing of a couple $100 could almost instantaneously yield you many thousands of dollars. That's why I say, take that second look. You're making an electric bill payment. Okay. Well, how can that electric bill payment be reduced? How can we get money back as a result of that? That concept of a second look has got a lot of different angles to it. But anyway, thank you so much, Michael. Always a privilege to be with the smartest person in the room. And for those that are listening to us, thank you so much. We truly appreciate the attention that you're giving us. And, like we always say, and I always say, you deserve that second look. Give us an opportunity to help you with it. So thank you, everybody. Have a great Monday. Have a great beginning of the work week, and October is right around the corner. So we know that our year is waning. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.